Welcome to Girl Call Me with Tanya,
And Jessica,
the podcast where Black women's voices shine.
come for the empowerment and storytelling and stay for the sisterhood.
Girl Call Me with Tanya and Jessica's new episodes every Wednesday, everywhere you get podcasts.
Head over to girlcallme.com to find out all the ways we can continue the conversation together. You know what? October's here, but it's 90 degrees in California.
But it doesn't matter. It's still fall in my house. The gourds, the pumpkins, they're everywhere. And I'm excited about the potential for cooler weather, hot chocolate, pumpkin patches, and hopefully some apple picking.
In California, the trees are turning orange, but that's from fire.
Okay, we're going dark again.
Just kidding. I love that it is still warm outside. I love that that I haven't switched over my closet yet, and today I'm in shorts and a short sleeve top. It is what it is. It's October. I'm sure it'll be flooding in April.
Well, we can't say flooding without
Yes,
acknowledging
true. Shout
some
out.
of our friends, family, and folks that we know around the country that have been basically going through a lot of challenges with the hurricanes and all the floodings that's happening in North Carolina, all through
Yeah.
Florida and so forth. So we are thinking of you,
Yes.
praying for you, and just happy to, you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm in a
Oh, wow.
joyful place. I always start reflecting around this time of the year. I'm always reflecting a bit on my year, and I can't say that it's been a bad year.
God bless it.
We
Take it.
started this podcast this year. Isn't it crazy? And we
Grateful.
are grateful and joyful. So that's where we're going to stay.
Okay, I will just acknowledge for my friends and fans of the Las Vegas Aces. It didn't work out for us this year.
Oh.
Next year, we will come back better, stronger, faster, making free throws, being able to stop the drive and the key, being able to play team defense. But look, it's all right. We did all right. We got our MVP and we got 6th player of the year. So I'm proud of my team.
Yeah.
But
And there's a draft
blessings.
coming up. There's a draft coming up.
If you don't stop, you have no idea what that means.
First of all, I actually do know what a draft is, and I know it's an
Sure,
opportunity.
but what do you know about
What I know, it's an opportunity. Whenever you draft a
Yeah,
player,
it's not for the.
I'm going to do an analogy. Regardless of when
guess
you draft a player, you have an opportunity to get better and get new and better players. So
Yes, but when you're the Las Vegas Aces and you've won in the past, your draft picks are not the highest draft picks like the other teams. So the teams that really win in the drafts are trash teams like the Sparks.
wow,
Sorry,
LA.
LA.
Whoa. As my wife actively tries to get season tickets in the next couple
I was
weeks.
just gonna say sorry, Jen. They had a tough year. They were riddled by injuries. But anyway, enough about the
Go
WNBA for now.
WNBA.
I'm still gonna follow, still watch. We don't know who the Liberty are gonna play yet, but there we go. That's all we'll say. Anyway, that's enough of that. Enough of me being in. Tanya said we have to be in joy, so I'm gonna come back.
You know what? And yes, let's stay in joy, but let's also stay in. The other day, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was something that Dr. Janet said, or maybe it was a memory that came up of me as a young girl. But I started to think about things about my younger self. If I were to talk to that younger me, and as we talked a little bit with Dr. Janet about healing that younger me and that younger you.
What Dr. Janet was talking about, and I think for anyone who's gone to therapy and you're trying to unpack something and you're reflecting, and then a therapist pauses and says to you, what would you say to younger you? What would you say to that person? If you've ever had that moment with a therapist, that's a take your breath away moment, because normally you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so hard on myself. Oh my gosh." It's like when someone says to you, "What would you say to your friend?"
Right.
Right? Would you talk like this to your friend? You know, if you're dealing with something so hard, imagine what, and you're barely able to navigate it at 40, say, Jessica, imagine what 10-year-old Jessica was
Mm,
going through. That's a gut
right.
punch, okay? It's a good gut punch. That's the work that you're doing, but I think you and I were talking about those moments and thinking and really doing the work to reflect on, we didn't all just show up today with,
No.
it's taking every experience with nothing, no other, what is it, frame of reference, right? Every single thing that happens to us, we run through about 10 filters that
Yeah.
we've created through our lives. And so we thought it'd be kind of fun. Let's use fun in
Yeah, because
quotes,
I'm
but
like, it
we
might it
thought
might
it
go
would
down a
be
path. What's up?
it might be traumatic, but we thought it would be
Interesting.
interesting to just like talk through some of those different stages in our lives and things that were going on for each of us in those times, or maybe monumental moments that as you look back, now you didn't realize at the time maybe were formative, but really are and have shaped who you are today. So yeah, and I was really, even just preparing for this episode, I was thinking that I probably don't give enough time to things that have happened in the past, and really really unpacking those as time's gone on, and thinking about those
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah, it's interesting because we've had different people share with us the importance of whether it's journaling and healing. There is a lot of therapists and, you know, people who say that the key to moving through and healing oneself is to heal that younger self. And
oh yeah,
I think I invite our listeners to also, as you're listening to this episode, to really reflect on what they would share with that younger self, whether they're
yeah,
struggling or enjoy, or what do they know now that they wish they could share with that person, that younger self.
yeah. And don't worry, we're not going to be the ones that analyze that for you. We have a couple therapists coming on
We
soon.
do. We'll have some links because it won't be us.
So don't worry, we do not take insurance, and you cannot bill us, and we will not be giving advice
We
because we
do
don't know what we're
not.
talking about.
The hosts on this podcast
We
do
are
not give advice, and
we are not
yeah, right,
doctors.
right.
Um, so let's start with like early memories in elementary school. And deep Tanya takes a deep breath.
Yeah.
So I this is an interesting one for me, and it's something that I've talked lot about with in therapy. And it's not necessarily for me one exact moment, but it was a range in my life where I was between 9 and 11 years old, that I had a lot of highs and a lot of lows for a 9 and 11-year-old, right? But like, and I think it was a time where regulating my emotions was at the forefront, and learning how to do that and trying to figure it out, and probably trying to expect myself to be able to do a lot more than I should have been able to do at that age. And so I had a friend pass away when I was in the fifth grade. My grandfather passed away when I was in the fifth grade. Two pretty traumatic things for me as a kid, especially, I mean, not especially, but I would say my friend, classmate, was really kind of traumatic for me. And then I was like top of my game and had won two national championships in softball. And I remember just the highs and the lows, sometimes coming weeks between each other, and never knowing when it was okay. Like, is it okay to be happy because something really sad and scary just happened? Is it okay to be sad? And how long is it okay to be sad? And I remember watching people in my life and trying to figure out how long, how long is it okay to
Mm.
cry? How long is it okay to talk about someone? And I still kind of I still deal with that, of really trying to regulate emotions, and when I go to shame, sometimes it's about, you should be able to do this better, instead of sometimes just letting myself feel. And that those ages, that 5th and 6th grade for me was a lot about feelings, navigating all of those feelings.
Yeah. Whew, this is a deep episode. Yes, light and joy. Here we are. Girl, call us. No,
I dove right
right. You
in.
dove right in. I was like, whoo, I wasn't ready. I was like thinking about
You're
like the
right.
playground or,
Okay, I
can we
know
talk
that's a
about
lie.
double dutch? I mean, like does anyone know
Look,
who what double dutch is? But no. Actually I asked someone that recently and I was anyway, it was they were looked at me like, what is that? And I was like, okay, let's keep it moving. They were from Australia, so it made sense. It's funny. Thinking about identity for me during that kind of pivotal time in elementary school, I think for me, I was, in New York, being, in a very Caribbean household. I was raised by my grandmother. And so there was a lot going on in our house and in our life that I was putting up. I think I've always done putting up the brave face and trying to make sure that I'm always perfect on the
mm,
outside, but maybe what's going on in home life, family isn't perfect. And, and being raised in a complex situation, I think going back to the idea of shame and feeling like, I don't fit in, but then
mm,
also, I had an accent at that time. I had a Jamaican, New York, Jamaican accent. I had a very Jamaican accent. And I think people were like, who are you? Why do you sound like that? And I think I've said this in a joke once before. Body wise, I was taller and I was bigger.
body yada
I was
yada
body
yada.
yaddy, bigger. I joked that the boys would grab my butt and run. I mean, that was like serious. How was my like so navigating family, also navigating body, feeling like my body was developing. I think it was just all
Mm,
not so fun.
yeah, yeah. So what would you, as you think about like what would you tell
Oh,
yourself? I think about what I would
girl.
I think what I would tell myself is like it's okay to feel,
Hmm.
Jessica, right? Like it's okay that you don't know how to feel, but it's also okay whatever you're feeling is valid. Like you don't need to get permission to feel things. And just because the other people around you aren't in the same
Yeah.
space, aren't doing the same thing as you, that's okay. Because I think that I told myself it was like trying to mimic what other people were doing. And I think I would just tell myself like it's okay. You own those
Yeah.
feelings
Yeah.
and not have shame there.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I would tell myself, I think I would tell myself that it's okay to not always fit into a box.
Mm,
You don't need to be the thinnest, be this size. You don't need to sound or sound like everyone else. You don't need to be like everyone else. And that you can come as you are and people will actually like you and appreciate you. And I mean, I had a very loving grandmother who loved and cared for me, and also that was okay. I didn't need a traditional mother to care for me because I had a very much strong, loving grandmother that raised me the way I am.
yeah. I'm so glad we're doing this and talking about this because part of the thing that you and I have talked about before is we will, and I think a lot of people do this. I certainly think a lot of Black women do, like minimize the things that we go through because we've talked about this even on the generational tip, kind of like, really, Jessica, you're going to talk about like your feelings, and it's like, yeah, that stuff when you're 10 years
Mm,
old, that stuff is really, really
right.
big. And it's important that you have the opportunity to kind of talk through these things and also feel validated regardless of, what you were,
Yeah.
even if something was trivial or like, these were just shitty kids who grabbed your butt and that's all it
I
was.
think I may
Guess
have
what?
liked him. I don't remember.
Yeah, you probably did. But it's like that doesn't mean they could have just been
Mhm.
shitty
It could
kids.
have
That
been.
doesn't mean it didn't have an
Right?
impact, and it doesn't mean it didn't feed into a story you were already telling
Right.
yourself, right? And we all know how dangerous a
Right.
story is. So,
Yeah, and I will also say that, that 10-year-old girl, I shared about my grandmother, but that's when she was also diagnosed with cancer. And
mm,
so that was, and so, you're young, you don't really know what all the doctor's appointments are, what's all the sadness,
right,
what's all this.
right,
So I think when I
right.
say that there's some lot going on in my house, this was a very
Yeah,
much. And so, but my response was to still go to school and smile and still
right.
perform, and it was all
Yep,
performative
yep,
because I just didn't want people, I didn't know if people would
yep.
understand what that was, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. And it is the piece of like, imagine one of our girlfriends today coming to you and telling you what we just talked about, that those were all things that their 10-year-old was going through. And you'd be like,
Oh my, right,
listen, pay
right,
attention. What do they need?
right,
What do,
right,
and that's nothing. So that's what we all need to be able to do for ourselves too. Even if it's after the fact and there's nothing you can do and you can't
right,
change the situation, like think that's the part that's so healing about it is talking about even acknowledging what you needed or what would have been helpful.
right. But what was the, when you think about that time in your life, what was the joy? What made you happy?
I think I think I liked making people happy. I like this is a hindsight thing, right? So I don't know. I mean, for me, joy was certainly friendships. Certainly, I was really into, like I said, I was really into softball. And so team sports and having like a community and camaraderie and feeling like I could lead people was really
Yeah,
important to me, gave me some sense of self and joy. Yeah. I think I had an incredibly joyful
yeah,
childhood and I have nothing, my family definitely had so many joyful moments. I was fortunate enough to have a dad who
yeah,
I spent basically every single day. Soon as school was over, we were at practice
yeah.
every single day together. My family traveled together for my softball. That probably wasn't, shout out to my sister who's listening. That maybe wasn't her joy,
Right. She'd
but
be like, that was not joyful.
when we got to travel and I got the bed to myself and my brother and sister had to sleep on the ground, that was joy for me. So I think, yeah, lots of, for me, relationships has always
Yeah.
brought a ton of joy.
Yeah. I think,
What about
yeah, I
you?
think for me, it was
Besides the butt grabbing.
besides, and, it's funny because I still am really big on birthdays, holidays,
Mm,
celebrations. Celebrations in my family was
very big.
very big. And when we talk about Big Buck Bashman, I mean, we're talking about the parties, the engage, like everyone's having a good time, the music, my grandmother. And I think just the power of a pot of rice and peas, the
Mm,
power of some good jerk chicken, and the power that comes from having people in your home. I think that theme just travels with me and makes my heart happy.
oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And we know you love
I
a
love a
party.
party. And I love a celebration of me. I
Especially,
love it.
I was just going to say, especially when we're
Yes.
celebrating me. Well, let's talk about probably a more traumatic
Okay.
time for every single human alive, which is junior
God,
high school.
no, let's not.
Ah,
Oh, that
well,
was
I think it's
bad.
so for so many, yeah, for
Oh,
elementary school where it's so much about identity and friendships and self-worth, right? Junior high is like awkwardness. It's self-discovery, but what you're discovering is that you're hella
right,
awkward, that you're super insecure. Most people, that's a hormonal thing too,
right.
right? And that's when like social pressures, at
Yeah,
least in our day.
I
Who
think
knows now?
right. They're probably more.
These kids may be doing this
I don't know
at,
what.
at age 10. No, they're like, what? Um, but for us, junior high is such a like, everyone has this story. I think we talked about on here before, like, the junior high, like, "Hey, you have a locker and you're gonna have to get naked in front of not naked, but you're gonna have to change in front of your classmates," and you're
I
like, "Oh
hated
my god,
PE.
what?" Oh, everybody did. God, if you loved PE in junior high,
What's
like,
wrong with you?
just stop listening.
Move on. Next.
You're not our
Right.
people. But yeah, talk about junior high
Mhm.
for you, and
Oh
like, are
God.
there any moments that stick out in for that like self-discovery and security stuff for you?
I think for me, that's when you're just, friends were big. So this is when I thought I was cool. I thought I
Mm,
was hip, I was cool. We left New York, we were in California at this point, so I had
okay.
palm trees and sun in my life, right? And
Right.
I remember because I've always been a klutz my whole life. I had an accident and I broke my ankle in junior high school. This is like
Oh,
senior year, junior high school. And because of that, I was also new to school, new. And let's just talk back to about the accent. That was now I'm in California and now they really looking at
yeah, I
me
was gonna say
wild.
California don't
They
know
are
who. They're
really
like,
looking at me
"Who?"
wild. And there was
Right.
this, so back then, since I couldn't carry my books, they assigned me to a helper. So I had somebody who was
Oh,
assigned to walk with me. I remember that this person, Angel, was assigned to me. And
oh
actually,
god.
Angel and I are still friends to
Oh, I
this
was gonna
day.
say shout out to Angel. I was like, is this gonna have to be an episode where we try to
We
find
have to find
Angel?
Angel. But yeah, I know where Angel is. Hey, Angel.
Hey
But
girl.
she would carry my books and help me. And from there, we built a friendship all through junior high, high school, and on. And, she has some beautiful kids and so forth. And so, I think for me, and I remember Jason, so it was Angel, Jason, and we were the trio. And I think for me,
Mm,
friendships were so important. And she almost saved me in so many ways because I was feeling isolated. I was feeling like, the loner, in some ways because I was new to town. But and then we kind of built this great relationship and I then evolved into feeling cool. Before
look at you.
all from a broken ankle because I'm a klutz.
Queen of
The
cool.
clean up
Queen of
cool.
cool.
But what about you? What is like a memory? Do you have an angel? Is there an angel?
An angel in my life?
Mhm.
No, I think for me in junior high, certainly identity, right? Like I just think generally, not going to school with a ton of people who I felt looked like me. Like there was that, but I think more was just I went to a school where we had to wear uniforms.
Mm,
And while I totally understand a public school, there was just like a pilot where we're going to
that's
try to put
interesting.
public school kids in uniforms. Yeah, they don't do it anymore. I don't didn't work, I don't think, because it's like great in theory, but I feel like when you are a kid at that age, like I didn't know what my identity was. And so now I'm have to look exactly like everyone else,
Mhm.
right? And you could only wear certain type of pants if you're a girl. And at that time, like only you could only wear tapered leg, straight leg were for boys. And, like whatever, there was 5 colors and that's all you could choose from of t-shirt or, that type of thing. I think it really othered me quick. Like I loved it in some respects, but I remember first of all, I remember like being like the size where I don't know, like it was the first time where if you have to buy the same clothes as everyone
Mhm.
else, you're also like pretty quickly comparing like what size is yours and what
Right.
size is mine. It's like, "Oh, just borrow my pants." It's like, "Girl, I cannot wear your pants." Those are like three size. They look the same, but they're not the same size, right? So it was like the first time that I really felt othered
Yeah.
quickly, and that was tough. That was super tough, and then it would be like, "Oh, someone's having a party on the weekend." And I'd be like, I have no clothes. Like, I don't even know, like, what do I wear? And then you felt all the pressure with that. So I think the identity thing for me, it was like, it really kinda amplified this, like, who am I? What do I show up as? Am I trying to be like everybody
Yeah.
else? The answer is yes. Like, you're supposed to try to look as much like
You're
everybody
in a
else, and now
uniform.
you're all wearing the same
Right.
clothes. Yeah. So that was a lot. I mean, it wasn't like, I think back on it and I just think of like the anxiety I had, and like that just felt a lot, right?
So now, what would you tell that younger self?
Girl, these girls are trash. Don't try to be them. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, and I like that. Actually, they are trash.
No,
Where are they now?
I right. Let's do it a follow-up episode. No. I think I would have said to myself though, like, every single person in this room feels the exact same way as you
Mm,
do. Because I think that's the beauty of, like, stepping back from it, is like we were talking about. No one's walking through junior high feeling like a boss, like, feeling like, "Oh, I got it all
no,
together." I mean, I felt cool, I felt popular, that wasn't even the thing. It still meant at the end of the day, like, I was insecure as
right,
hell. So I think I would just say to myself that, like, no one's comfortable. Not one person
right,
in here is comfortable. And I think that would have helped me, because I really felt like, "Is it just me?" Right?
yeah,
It's like, "No, it's not just you."
yeah. I think almost similar. I kind of from that I kind of evolved into this valley girl. I will say that. Probably still. I'm sure our listeners are like, girl, you still there.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh,
You
crazy, we
did?
can't
Right.
imagine."
I think I felt like I couldn't be me. I felt like that accent when they were like, I felt like I needed to, in order to fit in, I needed to fit into that box again. And
You were like, "I gotta go start watching
I need,
90210.
girl,
I got."
when I say I used to ditch class to go to the mall in the valley because I think I saw a movie. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was like, seriously, I am going to be. I didn't have the blonde hair. My hair wasn't straight. I didn't have any of those. I
Right.
didn't need to become that. I was
Yeah,
good
yeah,
as
yeah.
at who I am, but the reality is, I would tell that person probably a bit about their trash. You don't need to be them. You don't need to be that. And to more or less make sure I treasure the friends that I had, the real friends.
Mm. Angel. Shout out to Angel,
Shout out,
girl.
shout out to Angel and Jason. Cherish those people because those are the ones that
Yeah.
accepted the one with the
Mm.
bum leg, the ankle, the carried my books to every class period.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one, is, like, pay more attention
Yes.
to the people who are giving you positive energy and are supporting you than the ones who aren't.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
we should do that today. Look.
Every day. That needs right.
So that means we have to get rid of our entire last episode that was talking trash about all the people who were bringing us down. But yada, yada, yada.
Next.
Moving forward,
Next.
moving
Yeah,
forward.
so yeah, I mean, and I think yeah, I mean, I think today I do that, in the sense of I pour into those who pour
Mm,
into me, and I try my best, although it's hard always, to dismiss those who do not.
yeah, you got to.
We got to.
I'll try to take you down. All right, fast forward to high school. Um,
Now that's when I
you
really
know,
thought I was the thing.
see, look, high school for me, I was just saying to my best friend yesterday, I was like, look, I think I'd go back like
You
tomorrow.
go
I
to
think I'm
high
like one of
school?
the, like, yeah, girl, I loved high school. Loved
Girl,
high school.
I don't know
Yeah.
a lot of people who would
Uh-huh.
say they'd be going back to high school, but okay, girl.
I would. I mean, not forever, but I wouldn't mind like a
A trip?
little,
Little time
yeah,
travel?
a
A
little,
little time
yeah,
travel.
a little
Oh
semester,
my god.
little
Okay, so
semester
what
drop
made
in.
high school so great that you wanna go back? You wanna take a time travel. Tell us all.
Oh, what do I think it was? I think it was independence,
Mm.
probably, is
You had a
one
ca you had
thing.
a
I think,
car? You were driving?
I got a car halfway through. I think my sister's like 4 grades ahead of me. So, I was actually very fortunate that, like, I was coming into high school and my sister was leaving, and so I felt comfortable. I'd been to the high school a bunch. I'd been there with my sister, and, I knew her friends that were, like, gonna be seniors. So I kinda had a this is not gonna shock
Uh-oh.
anybody. I had an energy about myself where I was like, you can't really tell me anything. Like, I acted that way. Like, I acted out. I was just like, I am here. High school is solely for me to, like, live out everything I want to do. Like, I wanted to be on campus all the time. I wanted to be with my friends all the time. I wanted to be like, I was like, I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna be involved in all these things. I want the most friends. I want to just like be up in the
I can
mix.
see that. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's really kind of scary. If you see like my high school yearbook, it's like every page is like me doing something wild. Like there's even one with me with like a megaphone screaming into it. And it's like, okay, Jessica, you probably needed
Mm.
to you probably needed to unwind that a bit,
Mhm.
calm down.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just really I loved it. I really felt like I was like, yeah, I had insecurities a little bit and again, of course, around identity. Like now I'm like definitely bigger than people. I'm definitely like not blonde. I'm definitely, like there's not a lot of people of color. So like, yes, but also I was really enjoying like making a name for myself is what I felt like I was doing. What about you? You're not trying to go back? Yeah, I liked it. I'll go back anytime. I also have to say, like, it was I went to high school in a very when you talk about, like, the movies and the pop culture of it all, like, my high school was, like Romy and Michelle's high school reunion was filmed at my high school. Like, we it was a whole thing, like, the cheerleaders and the teams, you all wore your uniforms and the school day, and there were, like,
Shout out to what
pep
high school are we
rallies.
talking? What was the name of your
This is Valencia High School.
Valencia.
Valencia
Valencia.
High
Meanwhile,
School.
I was at North Hollywood
Uh,
High.
oh,
Mhm.
were you at North
North
Hollywood High?
Hollywood.
Yeah, so I had what you would call an idyllic high school
Yeah.
experience, which is kinda crazy. What about what
I
about
wouldn't
you?
I'm not going back. I mean, we have someone else has that motto. I agree with her. We're not going back. I'm moving forward. But I was good. I remember, Huskies. I tried out for the mascots. I did that for a second. I was a peer counselor.
Wait, tried out for the mascot? What does that
I was a
mean? To
mascot.
be
I
the
was a
mascot?
husky. What are you? I tried out. Okay, so let's be honest. Let me just
The
hold on.
fact that you just brushed
I
over
didn't even know the
that
damn
is
still. I tried out for the drill team. I didn't make it. Let's just be honest. I tried out for the drill team. That was not
wait a second, just
yes.
pause. Listeners, I just wanna confirm. She said I wanted to be the mascot and blew by that like that's just a
No,
normal thing to
nobody,
bring
because
up.
that was the only thing I could get. So first of
What
all, it was
okay,
show.
so the husky
First of
but
all, it
wait,
was
was the husky a full, like,
husky.
head
Was
and
full husky.
outfit?
Full out husky. So it was husky. So it was like first it was like let me think about cheer. Then I was like, how about drill team? And then let me just say, let me just we put our best to the test. We stand with unity. We know together we will win. Success is guaranteed. Our best is success. And the key is unity. We put all together for a husky victory. Why do I remember that? That's wild because I'm still traumatized because nobody would let me in.
Because you weren't the husky.
I'm still traumatized.
You're still trying to show him that you're still
I
trying
could
out.
do it. I really could do it. But no, I will say no.
Wow. Put me in, coach.
Put me in. I got this. But no. So, and then it was like, okay, let me just move on. And then I became a peer counselor. So
And talk to all the kids who couldn't get on the sports team about,
their problems.
"Hey, don't worry,
So we
guys.
would gather.
We're all
We would
okay.
gather.
We're all gonna be
We would
okay."
gather, and I was supportive. So I was early in my mind. I was a therapist, and and I will,
Working through your
and I
own
will
pain.
say, I the dean was cute, and so
Okay,
because
this
of
is such
him,
a problematic
I was like, I'll be a peer counselor, dean, you know. But and then what was it?
this whole story is
Was it the
problematic.
cheer, the knack of it, or was it the fact that I remembered
It's all I mean, it's the husky, it's the mascot, it's the becoming a peer counselor.
because of the teen?
It's because of the trauma and the husky and the
And then I
dean.
went
Keep
dark.
going.
Then I went dark, and then I started. I had a friend. at the John Burroughs. I had a friend, and I started.
Oh, did you go to
No, I
Jit
started
God,
dating.
wow,
I no, I
this
was
is
dating someone.
oh,
Yeah,
dating
Burbank,
someone at John
Burbank,
Burroughs.
and then we would, and
Big
I will
deal.
just say this out loud. Their family had an apartment building that they managed, and so then we'd start throwing parties. Then I was the girl that this is where my party planning started with high school. So I was then known for the person who would throw the parties. So let's just say
Wow.
that between the peer counseling and that, maybe I wasn't a peer counselor for long. Because
So so wait, back to the husky really
oh
fast. So
no,
that
can we
didn't
move
y
on?
but I'm
It
just
didn't work out.
asking, you
It didn't
didn't
work out.
you didn't
It didn't
make
work
that.
out.
Okay, you
It
didn't
didn't
make
work
that.
out. But
Alright.
I know that I could have done a really good job. Just gonna say.
So were the parties you were throwing, were these parties for, like, the, like, popular crowd, or were these kinda like alt parties? Like, people
One would probably say
like
alt. Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah,
Good
yeah, yeah.
liquor. I had the good look.
You had somebody with an
I
ID.
had
You
someone
had
with an
somebody with an
ID,
ID.
an apartment
You were
building,
getting real
apartment.
all right.
I was listen, anyway, we'll move on from this.
All the ingredients you
All
needed.
the ingredients. All that to say, I would not go back, but it
Okay.
wasn't bad. Yeah,
Did
we
you
had a good
feel
time.
like did you know, I think what's so interesting about kind of the decisions. Let's go with decision
Bad ones,
making
the
when you're
bad decisions.
in high school. I made bad decisions too. Look, I had plenty. I just told you my sister is 4 years older than me. So that means when she turned 21, I turned 21. So that
Shared
worked
ID.
in that worked in the whole class of
Right.
2001's favor. But did you think you were grown,
Oh,
or were you like clear like
oh
I'm
no,
not
I was
grown?
grown because I was at Angel's house. I barely went home. I barely
Angel was still around?
Yes, Angel. So we're
Oh
from
god.
junior high
Okay.
school to high
This
school.
episode's going to be called Shout Out to
Shout out to
Angel.
Angel. No, Angel was still around. Now Angel would judge me because she really was focused.
She was by the
She was
books. Okay.
focused, more focused than I. But I would go to her house. We would have a good time. I mean, my first car, I had a rabbit and I hit a house. And she was, yes, I hit a house. I was turning.
Oh, you hit a
I
house. I thought you said you had a house. I'm like,
no,
okay, so did a lot of
I
us.
hit a house. I decided I was going to get a stick shift.
Oh no,
And
that was your first problem.
I had my little training. I wasn't like I didn't have a full license yet. So I was made the turn probably too fast in the neighborhood. And I lost
Remember, I'm
control
just
of the
remembering now.
car. I hit
Oh
the
my god.
house and broke the front windows of this house. And when I say that Jason's still in the crew, Jason and Angel were in the car. And I remember jumping out going, please don't call the police. Because I do not have a
Have
license.
Oh my god, have you ever seen that, like, I think it's like an Instagram video or something where it's like this kid and he's out driving with his dad
Mhm.
and he he makes a turn. We gotta share this. We're gonna share this. He makes a turn and he just whips it, like doesn't take the foot off the brake, like the gas. He
Yeah.
just takes the turn and his father is like yelling at him, and then the car stops, and then it's like they take 5 deep breaths together, and the kid's looking at the dad, and the dad is like laughing, but clearly out of like sheer
Care, but
fear. And
fear.
it's just like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, and that I remember that exact moment with my dad. I remember going into a right to make a right turn and just going over the lane, but the right turn was like against the sidewalk and just clipping the sidewalk. My dad was like, "What are you doing?" I was like,
Like you had control.
I don't
Like
know.
you knew what you were
Like,
doing. I mean, I don't know why
I don't
I
know.
thought, like, I think maybe Angel or Jason knew how to drive a stick and maybe they were going to teach me. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea to take the car out because I was supposed to take lessons. And let's just
No.
say $1,000 later, broken windows and fear. And I think an injury to a knee. But I didn't get arrested.
I have never I still don't know how to drive a stick shift. My friend tried to take me out one time. I couldn't even get out of a stop sign. I was like, "Okay, I'm good.
There was a thing.
I am good."
My father once said that,
You never
real
know when you're
tough
gonna need
women, if
it.
you're gonna be
Yeah,
you cannot learn how to drive a stick shift. You don't want people to think
yeah.
that you're weak. So for some reason, I
Yeah.
thought I took
Meanwhile,
that. Meanwhile, I hit a house. So
meanwhile,
so
I've never had
so
to use a stick in my
so
life. But
all that to say,
anyway, what would you say to what would you say to Tanya now? Would you say, "Hey, girl, perhaps
take it down.
stay in the peer counseling lane, maybe receive, maybe it's a
Maybe it
co-receive therapy
right.
and give
Maybe
therapy."
you needed to not be giving anybody advice. Right.
Right.
No, I think I would. What would I tell? I mean, it's interesting because I went through that whole thing, and I was like, in some ways, I think it was going back to performative measures, right? I think I was
Mm,
doing some a little bit performant. I thought I was grown. I was doing
yeah.
too much. I think
Yes.
at that point, and I'll be honest, at that point, my grandmother's cancer had progressed far, and she was in chemo and doing. There was
Mm,
so it was like I was just like I'm gonna stay busy. I'm gonna stay.
yeah.
I played four
Right.
years of tennis, was horrible at it. I mean, I was when I say I was 4 years of tennis in high school, didn't learn nothing really, but I was a tennis player in my head, but I was just doing the most and getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And I think and it's funny, if my best friend's listening to it, she's like, you ain't learned nothing because you still do the most. So
I was just about to say, but
I'm not,
I wasn't,
I'm not sure I've learned the life
I'll
lesson.
let her have that. I'll let her have that moment
I
with
haven't
you.
quite learned the life lesson. But I think that be more intentional.
Mm. Oh, that's nice.
Be more
Yeah,
intentional.
mine probably similar. Not actually doing the most is similar. Like I was doing the most, and like I was just like I need to be in everything at all times. And I think I would just tell myself like, calm down, girl. Like
Calm
it,
down.
just calm
Just
down.
calm down.
Take a breath. Like take a breath. And it does not like you don't need to be involved in all of these things. All of these things are not for you. All of these people are not for you. I had no problem being friends with a bunch of people that like I wanted to be acquaintances with everybody and have friendships. I would just tell myself like just calm down. You don't need all that. Like, core group of my girlfriends who I met in high school are still my best friends today. Those are the people that I go to for things. I didn't I wasn't at risk of losing them. I should have just stayed focused on those, the ones who were going to stay around, like the people in my life who I have plenty of people who I was still friends with I was friends with in high school. Yeah, it's just like just on 10. And I probably would just say dial it back to a cool 7 and you're still going to achieve everything you want to
Right.
achieve and be surrounded by the people you want to be surrounded by.
Yeah. Take it down to 7.
Take it
And
down to
I think
7,
that
Jessica.
theme, take it down to 7, needs to continue as we're 40 and 50 because
Yeah.
I know for you, I know, I think, what was it, last week we were texting each other and we were like, what are we doing? We're doing too much. What are we doing?
It's funny when you were just about to start talking, I was going to be like, "You know what? Get out of my business. I don't need to take it down. I'm not even what do I have that's so much?" Meanwhile, stop.
Right.
Yeah,
So you were
take it
gonna
down.
cuss me out. Finally,
In the mix. I was
she was
about
giving me
to.
side eyes and cussing.
I was about
And you're
to.
like, who you?
I think now though I would say, look, I would say about myself, I'm not going to shame myself. I am very intentional about what I do now. So I may have a lot of things on my list and a lot of like areas of
Yeah.
focus, but it's not on my list anymore. It's not on my list unless it is the highest of priorities and means a lot to me and has there's always
Yeah.
intentionality. I don't do a lot anymore that
Right.
isn't going to serve
That's
me.
true.
And in the past, I would just be in the mix just to be in the mix.
True.
Just to say I was there, just to be there, just to now I'm like, and honestly, I think COVID helped me with
Mm,
this. Like because I used to just think I was like a purebred extrovert because that's what you would think when you knew me when I was like younger. And then COVID hit and I was like, "Oh, I kind of like this. I kind of like this time by myself." And what I realized is I could be in a room with 100 people and not speak to any of them, and I would come out with the exact same high as I would get
mm,
when I used to be working the room like a maniac. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm an introverted extrovert. I like energy from people, but I don't the way I get it doesn't have to be me
into
going,
it.
seeking, pulling it
Right.
out. I could just sit in an area." And I think that's why I love New York so
Mm,
much. I could go a whole day without talking to anybody, but feel completely fulfilled. And it's like, because I'd be taking the train with people, I walk through a park, I'm watching people watching. That's all I need.
And maybe it's did COVID did it, or maybe it's just life, because in some ways I feel, I've always been, the joke has been, I've always been a butterfly.
Mhm.
I can be in a room and you'd be like, I walk out and I've probably spoke with 100 people and they're like, they all think they connected, but I'm like, I don't know you. And I do butterfly almost in life, in the sense of a dabble, a dabble, a dabble, a dabble. But I think there's a part of me that's probably a defense mechanism, because if I were to
Mm.
sit and have two or three really deep, meaningful, you would get to know me just a little too
Not
close.
Tanya.
I'm not trying to get to
Yeah,
know you.
not
I'm not
Tanya.
trying to, you to ask me too many questions that no, don't, move on. And I always, when people try to ask me too many personal questions, I'm like, I don't trust you.
Right.
So it's interesting. Am I really an extrovert,
It's so
or
funny.
am
Okay.
I,
I
what am I? Who am
I'm
I?
gonna tell everyone to do a little something. I told you to do it.
Yes.
We're not sponsored by ChatGPT, but I'm
But
just
we
putting,
like it.
an idea out there. I did this thing that it's basically a horoscope on steroids. It was having it tell you, or, pulling up your birth chart and then saying to ChatGPT, write me
Mm,
a love letter from the creator about who I am and why I was kind of brought into the world at that exact moment. And yes, it's like the same as reading a horoscope out the back of Cosmos. So for all you naysayers out there, put on your, like, optimistic hat. And it was the most beautiful
mm,
experience for me because it actually, like, described a lot of things. I just value depth in
yeah.
relationships. And like I hear you on that because I do think that, like, floating around and meeting
I'm a
lots of
floater.
people and whatever can often be a defense
Mm,
mechanism. But mine just really talked about, you you want to be fierce, or you're seen as fierce when you enter a room, but that doesn't mean because you want the attention on
hmm.
you. And
I see that.
when I was younger, I knew that people looked at me that way, so I felt like I had to perform and meet their expectations. And now I feel like as I'm older, what I realize is people are going to look at me like that no matter what. So I actually don't need to show up that
Right.
way. I can show up however I want. Anyway, it was a ChatGPT. ChatGPT caught me getting reflective, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. That's why I sent it to you.
Yes. I
I was
haven't
like,
done
you
it
got to
yet,
do
but I
this.
need to. I need to do it. I need to do it. But yeah, so listen,
It'll probably say the same thing about you, knowing you a Leo. It's definitely gonna say that about you. It's gonna be
probably.
like, "Look, you stay trying to be in charge. You stay trying to be in people's
I
business,
do. I do. I do. But yeah.
but you really don't care about them."
Wait. Whoa. I
I'm
actually, no,
joking.
that's funny.
I
I
don't mean
do care, but it's interesting.
not really. You're like, "I do care, but not really."
I have people I care about,
Yes, of course you do.
but
I feel
I'm
like, but
very
Leo's
picky.
like
I'm very
The whole thing is like you trying to run shit,
we,
trying to host events, and that's why Angel was giving you the side eye.
right, because I was doing the most.
Trying to be a peer counselor, trying to run the events, and trying to be the mascot. If
And
that
playing
isn't a
tennis.
Leo,
And playing tennis. Meanwhile,
if that isn't say something about you, I
I,
don't know what
right.
does. You would have tried to do all four at the same time if they let
If they
you.
let me. If they let me. So, and so fast forward, who are we today?
Ooh, I'm cozy.
Mm,
Beyonce. That's a Beyonce
okay, I
reference.
can't. Comfortable in my skin.
Yes, girl. I do think I have become much more comfortable in being okay not having, it's not even being liked for me, it's not having to like everybody.
Right.
'Cause because that once I got over that of like, it's
Mm,
okay,
yeah.
and I shouldn't say got over. That's one of the things I work on consistently is like, that person doesn't need to carry weight in your life. Their opinion, you don't even care. You don't even really like that person. You don't even agree with X, Y, and Z about them. So why do you care what they think about you? That is, I am more and more comfortable with that every day.
Mm, another word.
Yeah. What about you?
I was thinking about that. I think that for me, I am more comfortable with not being perfect.
Mm,
I'm more comfortable with the reality is that I can show up and that I'm really damn good, but I
mm,
don't have to sit in like I can make mistakes. I can be like, I didn't say that right. And I think a lot of it comes from even this podcast because I don't think Tanya 5 years ago would have been talking about any of this stuff. Tanya 5 years ago was like, you didn't need to know my business. Tanya 5 years
so some barriers are coming
sometimes okay.
down.
And but Tanya today is like, I'm comfortable. I'm
Mm,
okay.
right,
And I'm secure in my life, my friendships, my relationships. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be good.
right. Ooh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a part of me too that's like I used to feel like my cup needed to be filled by others.
Mm,
I do a very good job filling my own cup these days, and that I am very
Self
proud of.
care.
Hey girl, over self-care.
Over.
This credit card bill would American Express would say, maybe cool it on the
Calm
self-care
down.
girl. Maybe some journaling or some no
Mm,
cost, low
Just a
cost
little.
self-care.
Right.
Whatevs. Yeah, it's a journey though. We're all on a
We are
journey.
all
I'm
on a
happy to be on
journey.
your journey with
Me
you.
too.
I
Ditto.
I will not get the image of you with like a mascot head, a tennis racket, and
Girl, I'm
like
gonna
peer
have to make
counseling out of
that.
my
I'm gonna have to
mind.
create that
Uh-huh.
that emoji at some point. But it
Yeah.
is
Well, we're definitely gonna share on, so if you're listening to this, don't worry because we're about to find
of Angel.
pictures and from
Be an
well, not
angel.
of Angel, well, maybe
Maybe
of us in these different years and post them because we're gonna be that vulnerable.
we might.
Okay. Don't judge my hair,
Right.
please.
I really do want to encourage our listeners to reflect
Yes, I
because
do
it's a
too.
great exercise when you take the time to go, who was I and who I am today?
Mm.
And take a second to celebrate yourself and
Ooh.
all of you become.
Celebrate the
Come
journey.
on.
Yes. Celebrate where you are today and then celebrate the journey. You're right. We don't do that
Right.
enough. And, yes, think about your little self, but also
Mhm.
like think about your junior high self. Like we're joking about how terrible that is for everyone, but really it is. But celebrate like who that person was and like who that person who you are today and how you got here and yeah.
Yeah.
Give yourself some love. Go through those yearbooks
Mhm.
and then the look how far we've come moments.
Right. Look how far we've come. Well, thank you all for listening.
Thank you
Can't
for
wait to hear
listening.
about your stories. Tell us your mascot stories on social.
Oh, oh.
I need to know.
If we even have one other listener who tried to be the mascot, and look, I'm not trying to shade anybody, but if we do have another mascot listener, I'm going to be shocked. But I could be proven
I'm sure
wrong.
there's a husky that's gonna come through.
I was close enough. I mean, the energy I was giving, like maybe the Viking I was not gonna be the Viking. But
Interesting.
anyway, all right. Till next
Till next
time.
time.
Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.